Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. It is I, Colton Robertson, and today we continue our 52-year journey through film. As always, I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
What up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. And for the second time on this 52-year journey through film, we are joined by Aurora Carter. What's up?
Hello, listeners. Yes, it's me, the one and only.
The one and only. The one and only. Today, it's a fun one. We're starting a Jim Carrey trilogy with The Mask. It'll be a fun little week here. 1994, obviously, a busy fucking week we've got lined up here ahead of us. But yeah, I can't see that.
I can.
There we go. Yes, Ace Ventura here, or Ace Ventura was yesterday. Today's The Mask. It's our second edition in a collection of movies for Jim Carrey this week. But yeah, The Mask, 1994. I hadn't watched this movie in years, and it wasn't what I remembered it being. I remembered it being like funny, but I think my sense of humor has changed. It was an interesting one. I'm excited. I'm interested to see how y'all feel upon this viewing of The Mask. Let me lay the groundwork real quick though. We got The Mask, released on July 29th, 1994. It was written by Michael Fallon, Mark Verheiden, and Mike Werb, directed by Chuck Russell as Charles Russell. And no, yeah, it was an interesting one. I'm excited to hear how you guys feel. I hadn't watched this movie in years. Am I alone in that camp?
No, you were not alone. I can't remember the last time I watched this movie. It's just a deep cut memory that I have, like, of viewing it. But yeah, it's been a minute, that's for sure.
I was in daycare.
Yeah, you were like, I know when it was, and it was forever ago.
Yeah, I don't think we watched this in school, but for some reason
There's
I have
no
a
way we watched this.
Yeah,
in
like
school.
No, but I feel like I watched it with like a group of people for some reason.
I watched it. I know I watched it with a group of people. I think we were at like a baseball tournament. We were in like a hotel room, and we watched The Mask. Yeah, and I remember thinking it was funny as fuck then. And I watched it, and I'm like, it is funny, and at some moments there are certainly moments where Jim Carrey shines. But it's all in all really, like, Jim Carrey usually comes through with a pretty decent story, along with how funny it is. And this was just missing on that.
Yeah,
aspect. It
was really like at the end, right? It's supposed to be this like beautiful, like, oh yeah, forget the mat, we don't need it anymore. Like, we've learned everything. But like at the end, you're just kind of like, like, I don't know. It wasn't just like oh my God, that's everything I wanted in this movie. It was like, yeah, that was like, I guess it was like obvious, I guess. But like, it wasn't as satisfying as I thought it would be for some reason that I can't really land. But
no, yeah, it's really interesting because we've also evolved in our perspective of women in media as we've matured. And when we were younger, it's like auga, yes, fun, good times. He ends up with Cameron Diaz. That's awesome, wonderful. Now you're just kind of like, wow, she really didn't get any bit of Screen time that wasn't sexualization, did she?
Mm-mm. Yeah, and it's not even like it was the time, because we had some great movies before this with amazing female leads, so like it's not like this movie wasn't being, I don't know, like they didn't have to do this.
And it's also interesting because like this is pretty on par for a 90s comedy. Like this, what I found through like so far watching our 90s movies is that we've picked some incredibly 90s movies. Like they feel right in that era. Like there's no doubt that these movies are from the 90s, and this has 90s comedy written all over it, including a lot of prop comedy and like sound comedy where you get the random noise effects like shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, all he has to do is pull out those big guns, and then we laugh as a kid. He pulls out like those 40 guns that are on both of his hands, and we're like, oh, that's just hilarious because I'm a kid. I don't need anything else. But like these obvious just like kid moments, you're just kind of like, I don't know. It was more of like man, I used to laugh at that, like that actually used to be funny to me. I don't know. It was just more of like I guess that's what this movie did for me the most, was like, wow, I have changed a whole lot from like when I've seen this movie. But
I was just going to say like the I forgot that festival the guy's name was at the end that took the mask, but he gave Jim Carrey and the guy with like how, even though like how grotesque he looked wearing the mask, villain, they both gave me like nightmares as a kid sometimes, because it's like, why do you look like that?
No, yeah. I remember when I was a real little kid. Like, I remember the first time I watched The Mask, I was nervous to watch The Mask because I was afraid of The Mask. You know what I'm saying? Like the first time I for real watched it, because this man looks freaky for like a lot of the movie. Somebody stop me. That shit,
those
like
teeth, man. I don't know. Like, I wonder what like made them go with just gigantic teeth. Like, I wonder,
chompers, bro. Like,
I guess they needed something other than his head is just green. Like this is all I was thinking about. Like I don't know. I just had to kind of occupy myself for a lot of this movie, like thinking wise, and I'm like, man, I guess he really just has a green head and big teeth, and that's it. That's literally like the whole costume, and then it's just whatever he's dressed up as.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I just I remembered it. I just remembered it a whole lot different than it was. My favorite part of this movie, which I'd completely forgot even happened, was when the dude's trying to shoot him, and then he acts like he got him, and he's like, "Oh!" Like, that's the most Jim Carrey scene in this movie, and that's why it's the best scene in this movie, for my money.
That's fair.
Make sure you let Old Yeller out. Tell Tiny Tim I won't be making it home for Christmas.
I guess there were a couple scenes like that where it was really just Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey. Like where he just got to act out. Like whenever he was meeting her at the park, in the middle of the night or whatever, the landfill park. And, he goes around the bush to change into the mask, and he comes out as like the Frenchman or, the whatever. And he's just like, oh my God. Like, I don't know. That's where Jim Carrey just shines. Is just like a character. He can just play any character just like so well.
That's why I was saying, like, I was saying to myself, like, Jim Carrey is the Mask. He is the Grinch. Like, that's who he is. But another thing that I decided, I really believe that people who are fans of Deadpool, the Joker, and the Riddler love the Mask, because he breaks the fourth wall. Like, it's just like, I see so much of the Joker and Deadpool in him so much that it's like, yes, like, this is that.
No, yeah, that's what's interesting too. This is only a couple years before his run as Riddler and Batman and Robin and stuff, and he's just so good at that fucking goofy, like, just a fucking dork. He's just a huge dork, and it comes through, and I love it every time, And like that's one thing I'll say about this movie is, like, even though I'm not the biggest fan of this movie by any means, I still love watching Jim Carrey do his fucking thing, because he's just really, really funny and really talented, and it's it's just fun to watch.
His face, he has such like just an expression, like filled face. He can make any expression like to the extreme. Like he almost has like a cartoon face, and that's why like I don't know, he just fits so well in these just weird, crazy roles.
I think he had a stroke.
No shit.
Really?
No, I'm talking like the reason.
Oh, I was like, for real? I was
No,
like,
no.
damn. Now I feel like shit. But I don't know. He does.
No, yeah,
have,
he's
like,
always that's always been kind of his brand, you know. Like even when he does his impressions, it's not just him impersonating a voice. He can make himself look like somebody, which is like wild as fuck. Like the face contortions this man is capable of. Like, and then when he turned into Elvis in the movie, I was like, oh, thank you very much. Like that whole shtick, and he's just a really fucking funny dude, and that's one of the advantages of. Like, this almost was certainly just written for him. There was, like, no question as to who was going to be the Mask. It was like, we're writing this, and Jim Carrey's going to be the Mask. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no, like, I can't imagine they held auditions. You know what I'm saying?
You know, I thought I was gonna go into this movie having like the same nostalgic feeling as The Lion King, and yeah, it felt nostalgic, but it felt like you guys said, I was watching a different movie. I was like, it was kind of like, you know, when you were a kid and you go places and everything seemed more giant than what it was, and then you go back and you're like, you know, like Six Flags wasn't given what I thought it was given, but like that's how I felt going to this movie. I was like, you know, it's not bad, it's just not as big as I thought it was.
I regarded this in my mind, and I listened to podcasts with like 30-something-year-old hosts who obviously hold this in very high esteem because they were like 10 to 15 when this came out, somewhere in that range. And it's like, oh, this is a nostalgic classic for you, but and you grew up in the era in which stuff like this was funny. This gets released today. It's not nearly as funny or regarded as a classic. And I think that's what's so interesting about comedy on the whole, is just like, there's no better reflection of the times than what is funny at the time. And this is one of the funniest fucking things that came out of the 90s, according to people who lived through the 90s, which is really interesting.
I mean, what a way to kick. You know, I mean, like, I'm glad that this is the kickoff for Jim Carrey, because like it only gets better. Or I guess this, I don't know. I guess, like, I don't know. This year is just insane to think about for him, just in general. Like these three movies, like I guess we are kind of down crediting this movie and everything, but like he's just like, I don't know. It's insane that in 1 year he had Ace Ventura, The Mask, and
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, I don't know.
No, yeah, like those are three
like
classic comedies.
Like I'd say like Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber are the more iconic of the three. If I were to say,
Dumb and Dumber separating itself from all three altogether as the most iconic, I'd say.
That's true. Yeah. But like, he's just, I don't know. Jim Carrey, he's kind of like a Robin Williams, where if he's in the movie, you at least know you're going to enjoy his performance, like no matter what. And that, he kind of reminds me of like a Robin Williams. Like he just fits in like that kind of category of actor. Or more of a performer, I would say. Like that, they're really just like performers. I don't know. I love watching them. Like,
there's one thing about this movie that I was like, oh god damn, Jim Carrey got the fucking moves if that's him while he's dancing. At times, like they were going in at some points.
That's true.
I felt like not to say like he's like a grotesque looking dude, but the last scene when he like pulled the mask off and like his full hair was blowing, I was like, he looked really attractive. Like, okay. I was like, he was,
yeah. He's got his angles, you know what I'm saying? Like
angles.
Yeah, there are moments like where I'm like, you know, there was this movement that kind of started in movies with like When Harry Met Sally, when it's like the absolutely fucking drop dead gorgeous, obviously model type actress goes for the dorky, nerdy looking dude, and that started with When Harry Met Sally, and it bleeds through to multiple movies that we're talking about in this very year. But The Mask, it's more It's more that than anything else. To the point where it's like, this is completely and utterly unbelievable.
It's just
See, like,
yeah.
I don't know. He's so funny that through the whole movie, you look at him and you're like, this is just one goofy guy. You know, he's just a goofy guy. But then at the end, he actually kind of like sexies himself up, you know, like, it's kind of crazy. Like, he can go from, you're looking at him, you're just like, oh, I'm already laughing in my mind just because it's Jim Carrey's face, you know, like, I don't care. Like, dude, he can do anything, and it's just gonna be enjoyable in my mind. But then, like, at the end, he's like, he's serious up there a little bit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I see what you're saying. Like, it was a whole different vibe to him. Like, he was a whole different kind of person right there. And I that's interesting. Like, now that I think, you know, whenever I look at a person like Will Ferrell, you know, I'm only thinking of the hilarious roles, you know, that he's in, and not the real person that he is. But like, he kind of is that person, I guess, in real life. And Jim Carrey's kind of Jim Carrey in real life.
Jim Carrey's a fucking nut.
So
yeah,
I don't know. That's interesting to think about. Like,
one thing I really like about Jim Carrey and Robin Williams is that you can tell they have, like, it's just so weird because it's like they played themselves. Like, you know, like, think about The Mask and the Grinch. I'm just going to compare that. But it's like they still make it different enough that it doesn't feel like Jim Carrey is cosplaying The Mask, cosplaying the Grinch. Like, it was like, yeah, he has.
I was gonna go somewhere similar with that, especially because, like, when we were talking about how Jim Carrey looks different at the end, like, he looks sexier at the end.
Yes.
Like, I think there's probably something to not only his facial acting, like, I mean, going to like Christopher Reeve's Superman, 1978. There's a distinct difference between the way he looks when he puts his glasses on as Clark Kent and the way he looks as Superman, just in the what he does with his eyebrows and what he does with his eyes a little bit. Like, he changes his face and, you know, he becomes a sexier looking dude. And I'd be willing to bet if you like really looked at it, that's what was going on with the mask here at the end. But like, I recently watched The Truman Show, and like, and we'll be talking about that in a couple weeks for our 1997 movie. But I can't believe that's the same guy. You know, but he doesn't look any different. He's still Jim Carrey, but it's wild to think it's the same guy. And that's just a testament to the performances this man can give. He's just got such a range, even though it feels like he fits into a specific niche. And it's like, he can really do whatever you throw at him. It's incredible. Yeah,
I don't know. He just, I don't mean this in any mean way, but he just seems like he was like the most theater kid in high school. Like,
oh, yeah.
He probably just had like the most energy, like, and he was just always on. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like they've just been like that their whole lives. And I don't know. It is kind of crazy that they do kind of play the same person in every role, but it is different enough. It's not like a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson where you're like, that's just The Rock every time. You know, like, that's just The Rock. But like,
not a lot of nuance coming off.
You don't say like the Grinch is Jim Carrey. Like, you say the Grinch is the Grinch. You say the Mask is the Mask. You know, like, he does
Bruce
the character.
Almighty is Bruce Almighty. Yeah.
Like,
it's, and to like backpedal off you, Joe, like, it's like, from my experience, like, you know, like, kids in like high school settings that is like, has such a big and captivating personality like Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey actually talks very deep. Like, it was an interview when he was talking at the red carpet. He was like, what is all this for? Like, what is all this about? And it was like, you know, and of course the interviewer was like, oh, come on, dude. Like, I'm new here. But it's like, he is so...
I got hired. I'm doing my job.
Yes. Like, come on now. And like, he thinks so deeply, though. And
he's a smart dude.
Yeah. And I think so far, this is like the only Jim Carrey movie other than Dumb and Dumber. But for me, I just want to say, like, I love how he said something on David Letterman about his say I'm 60 and 60. And when he actually turned it, he kept that joke long enough. Like, his longevity is just ridiculous. Like, I have such respect for that man.
No, it is really awesome to see the people and like, because there's not a lot of people in Jim Carrey tier talent and fame. Like in terms of like, if we're making the graph from Dead Poet Society and you have one side be talent, one side be fame, very few people are going as far up and right as Jim Carrey is. You know what I'm saying? And it's interesting whenever people from that especially were famous like right before we were born and in our early childhood, like Jim Carrey and like Snoop Dogg and guys like this who have been like heralded now. They're heralded now as legends. Like they are absolutely the top of the tip top. These guys are absolutely legends. And at one point, you know, it absolutely came through. People knew in 1994, oh, Jim Carrey is probably the funniest motherfucker on the face of the planet right now. And that's crazy. Like at one point, you know, he put out 3 classic comedies in the same year. You kind of have, at least for that year, title of World's Funniest Man, which is bonkers.
I'd say he deserves it. That's for sure. Man's career is stacked, you could say.
Has Jim Carrey ever played like, I know he started off as like comedic roles, but has he ever played like a legit emotional thought out movie? Okay, can y'all tell me what that is?
Sonic the Hedgehog, the villain? No, I'm kidding.
I was going to say
sorry.
No, but Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. It's one of the more devastating movies I've ever watched, and Jim Carrey's the lead.
Okay, I have to watch that.
Yeah, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Here, let me see. There was another movie I watched recently where I just absolutely loved him in it. But have you guys watched that documentary of him on Netflix?
No.
Where let me see if I can find it. It's because he was playing.
He was so good. So good in it. In The Living Color. I love him in that show. Oh my god, him and the Wayans brothers was so fucking funny. It was hilarious. And Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx was in the show too. It was so good. I remember when Jamie Foxx did like that his drag Wanda character, and like him and Jim Carrey was like on the dating game. That was hilarious.
I can't find it right now, but there's a documentary on Netflix where he plays Andy Kaufman, and it's about him playing a role where he went like full method, and like it was like, oh, this man might be losing his fucking mind. Strongly recommend watching that, like probably along with these movies that we're watching right now, just to get like a context of where Jim Carrey's at. Sort of, I'd look. It's Jim Carrey documentary on Netflix. You'll be able to find it, but it's fucking incredible. And it really gives you some insight as to where his head was at a lot of the times when he was doing performances. So it's really interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, this man is. His career is crazy. Like most recently, like just kind of, I saw it on TikTok is how I learned about it, but like. I listened to Dawn FM, The Weeknd's new album, and he's in it a couple times, like as the radio narrator,
radio host. Welcome to Dawn FM.
And I remember listening to it. I'm like, man, that sounds so familiar. Like, who is that? Like, that is someone I know. And then it popped up. I'm like, oh, that's just kind of cool. That it's Jim Carrey, on the album
on The Weeknd.
Yeah, that's just kind of cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but
I just
Oh, go ahead, Aurora.
No, I was going to say something else. Like, y'all was talking about his face expressions. I don't think any other expression that he has done was as iconic as the Grinch looking at the camera just grinning. That was so, at first I thought it was, I said, oh no, they had to put some special effects to do that. But it's just him, Ace Ventura. I think he also, he keeps that smile a lot throughout the movie. I believe
that dude has insane movement of the mouth in the cheek muscles.
I know he be giving girls the work.
Insane, that dude. Yeah, man, it's kind of creepy at some whenever he does the face without all of the Grinch stuff on, and it's just Jim Carrey doing the Grinch face. It's kind of
freaky,
dude. Imagine that running at you in the dark that.
No, I won't.
That's kind of fucking scary.
No, yeah. But what's interesting too is that I think this is going to kind of be the episode of these 3 Jim Carrey movies where we kind of just herald his performance more than anything else, because that's all there really is to this movie in terms of what is good about it. Like, if you don't have Jim Carrey in the lead role, this movie is bad.
Yeah.
Like it's just objectively not good if Jim Carrey's not the lead. And so like I think our discussion won't be nearly as just seared around the fact that Jim Carrey's so fucking talented the next couple with Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura. But
so
yeah, it'll be interesting to like see where this like falls in like a rating.
You know who like reminded me of Jim Carrey when I was younger, and I might get canceled for this, but Crazy Steve on Drake and Jaws. Like, that actor reminded me of him so much. I don't know.
No, and you're not alone in that.
That's hilarious.
You know? It makes a lot of sense. There were a lot of people when he was like on iCarly as Spencer who like compared him to Jim Carrey in terms of the levity he brought to the show and the way, like, you can tell a very clear influence on the character that guy plays is Jim Carrey. And I think that could probably be said for a lot of just over the top comedic actors who were teenagers in the 90s and grew up in the 90s, you know, like, it's funny. I would say there's no actor who's done quite as well at replicating that as Jerry Trainer from Nickelodeon fame.
Wow, what a cut! But it makes so much sense,
doesn't it?
Like, I was not thinking about it before, and I never would have. But it does. It just makes, like, it's a thought that I've had my whole life, but I've never fully realized.
You've never unlocked it.
You know, I've never gotten there.
Like, you know what brought that to my mind? I was picturing Jim Carrey's smile. Then I remember the iCarly episode when it was all doing like the dance dreams and how Spencer woke up in the dress and he was like, boom, and then died, and then like it was just so fucking. That just came to my mind out of nowhere. But I'm happy I'm not alone in this conversation.
No, that's not cancel worthy. Everyone loves Jerry Trainer. Jerry Trainer's a legend, you know, especially for kids our age. Like, that's a legendary figure right there. That's a seminal figure of our childhood. But Crazy fucking Steve.
Yeah.
No, but shit, guys, I really don't have a ton else to say about The Mask in particular. I figured after watching this that it wouldn't be our longest episode of all time. There's just not a ton to talk through there. There are, you know, like I said, there are some funny ass moments, to be sure. But I like the moment where he leads the guys into an alley and he's set up like a carnival sort of thing. He sets up, he does balloon animals. He like licks the whole balloon and then turns it into a fucking Tommy gun. It's like, I can see how I thought that was fucking hilarious when I was a child, you know. But it rings funny today, but
it's like
I wasn't obsessed with this enough as a child for it to seep through to my nostalgic serotonin levels, you know.
Damn, that hurt. But it's so many. Shit, that hurt. But it was so many like DC and Marvel characters I see in The Mask itself. Like, it's so crazy. Like, DC Mixix Piddlix, I see him as The Mask because like he just so stupid. Like, you guys cannot tell me that scene with like all of the guns and it's saying bang. It's not the Joker. It's like, come on, that is some Joker shit.
Absolutely.
Like,
I'm a superhero.
Yeah, that was funny. I can fight crime. Oh, like we just.
I just did what any good American citizen would do.
Oh man, like Jim Carrey though, like that man, he's like one of like the old heads that I like want to like live forever, just because like he's just, I don't know. It's like, even if the movie is bad, he saves it. Like, that's how good of a captivating
that's a good summary of this movie.
Yeah,
great summary of this movie. A bad movie that Jim Carrey saves
just by being himself 99% of the time.
Like, cool
Stanley
concept.
Fucking Ipkiss.
Like, guy puts on a mask that we have zero clue where it came from. Thought they would try to go into that a little more. Mysterious, like it just came from a boat.
No,
Okay.
it's
Like-
the Norse god Loki.
Yeah. Okay, is that actually the legit explanation, or is that just something that dude was like, yeah, it looks like Loki's mask?
That's what it said in the description. Is like they write it off as like the
Oh shit!
Yeah,
like
Loki's.
that's the mask is imbued with the power of Loki.
Oh shit! No way!
well,
I
it
thought
makes
that was
sense.
just like a thing the dude made up. Like, huh?
Is that like supposed to be like a real like Norse relic, or is this like movie made?
I'm guessing it's movie made. I can't imagine that this specific mask was like this model of it was like anything Norse mythology related.
Yeah,
Just because it really doesn't have that vibe.
I mean, I guess it did give him like god powers. He could just do whatever he wanted.
He could do anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
This man was spinning.
I guess. Is there a sequel to this? Is there more?
The son of the mask, yeah. When the dog had the mask on and the baby had the mask on, that was hilarious. Actually, I like the son of the mask a lot.
The dog. The dog.
dog.
Oh my god! The
That coming
only
full
other
circle,
saving
the
grace of
dog
this
being-
movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
the dog
That
was funny
dog
as shit.
was so well trained. Holy
Oh,
shit! The amount of things they got that dog to do, and it
Get
acted
barked.
like well at some points. Like it was like looking at like people and like assessing the situation. Like it really looked like the dog was thinking on its own. Like I don't know. That's what honestly was the most impressive part of this movie was how they got that dog to do that.
Jim
like-
Carrey and his dogs, man, his dogs, Max
The
and
dog
yeah.
actually wore that mask, by the way. Actually turned into that entity.
Yes, and he
The
just
real
looked into it, put his head in it perfectly. Like, how
Legend.
do you get a dog to do that, man? Oh my god, is he credited? I hope he is.
Smoking.
I hope that dog is credited. God damn it, he's not. That is so unfortunate.
It's party time. PARTY. Because I gotta.
And like the
Dog.
whole scene when he like took Cameron Diaz, like when he dipped her and her shoes came off, I was just like,
Right.
what the like what can make
Not-
that?
That was the most unrealistic thing about this movie is that Cameron Diaz isn't like horrified of this
I would've been
green faced
scared as
man
shit.
dancing with
I'm like, this
This
man is on
dog-
bath salts and with a green face.
her. Right.
This dog is in 2 movies, The Mask and Mr. Accident, whatever that is, came out in 2000. But his name is Max the Sixth. He's the 6th Max, and I can only wonder if the 5 before him were famous actors like him,
There has
or
to
if
be.
or
Has to
is
be
he or is he like the first in the family to make it big?
Is Max from a lineage? Is he like what or alternate thought here? What if Max is an eternal and he's doing what Kingo did? And he's just been getting famous every generation because he's an eternal dog.
I can only believe that to be true now. That's the only theory I'm comfortable going with.
That's a spicy meatball.
Wow. Oh no. Rest in peace.
I
He
mean,
died in 2013.
I mean,
Damn.
he would have been old. That's a long.
That's
That's
old.
a long
That's a
time.
long
Damn,
life
buddy.
for a
That's a
dog.
long
Alright, buddy.
time.
All right,
That
buddy.
man lived to be 20.
Okay.
Old as shit. This old ass dog.
Born in 83, died in 2013.
Bullshit.
That's 30
That's a
years,
30-year-old.
dude.
Bullshit.
He is an eternal.
Right.
He is an eternal. We just confirmed it.
Bullshit.
What?
That dog lived that long.
Oh my god, he's
You gotta ask yourself
insane.
one
You see
question.
how long you live when you got money?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do ya, punks?
That
dog.
is insane.
Yo.
I'm so glad I looked him up. Max the 6th, too, dude. Oh, he has his own wiki page. Let's go.
Let's go.
Mask
What is
Milo
going
is his
six?
master's alter ego. The mask is wacky fun, loving him, changes his appearance into something. A whole wiki on just Milo the dog.
That's fantastic.
This is amazing. Oh, there's a cartoon. His head. Oh
Yeah,
my god, that's
the
actually
Mask,
really
the animated
cool.
series.
That's really cool. His head, like in the movie, looks exactly like it does in the cartoon. That's pretty cool. Man, you know what? I like this movie a little more now. I forgot about Max the Sixth, aka Milo.
Max the Sixth is my favorite actor.
You
But,
know, like, what I love about my role on the podcast is that I could bring up like one little detail about a movie and it just splurges. Like,
yeah,
I love
we'll
it.
run with it. We'll run with it. That's a guarantee.
Yeah.
Stanley Ipkiss. What a
One thing I
name.
just want to know is like how long was Jim Carrey in like the makeup chair, like putting that on?
Ooh, right.
Like I
wonder
want
if
to
it-
know
Oh, that's true. Because it definitely isn't. It's not something you think he just like.
because
Can
it
slip
moves
on.
with his face. Like, it
Yeah.
moves.
Ooh.
So
Damn. That's rough.
I'm looking at some trivia on the IMDb right now just to see, and this says that Chuck Russell, the director, revealed that a lot of money was saved on special effects because Jim Carrey was cast. Because his body movements and his cartoonish and flexible nature, they didn't need to
That's
enhance
insane.
a ton of stuff digitally. Besides the stuff they obviously edited
King
digitally.
shit. That is some king shit, dude. It took 4 hours to apply the mask. It says in trivia.
Jesus
So
Christ.
damn.
Now I can see why Jennifer Lawrence won out the X-Men series so bad. If it just took the
Right.
face 4 hours.
Okay. This was good. It was Jim Carrey's idea to have the mask blow a smoke heart and then an arrow through it. That was clean, not gonna
That was
lie.
tough. That was tough.
That was
Mhm.
tough. He was
Oh yeah,
paid-
and the other little thing where I was like, this had to have just been Jim Carrey being like, I'm gonna do whatever I want in this movie, is the part where like he's obviously watching cartoons that Jim Carrey would love. Like he was just like at like them doing the slapstick cartoon thing, and I was like, you know what, that makes perfect sense. That's exactly Stanley Ipkiss, you know?
the when he pulls the condom out and says "sorry, wrong pocket," that was improvised by him. No one knew he was gonna do it. That's pretty cool.
Oh, this was Cameron Diaz's first acting role.
Really?
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's
This
right.
is
Because she
where
was
it
doing
all-
porn before.
Is that true? I've heard that, but I never knew if that was
think
like a.
so.
Yeah, the mask, her first thing. Yeah. Wait, is what true? I
Porn.
missed it.
That before she was a famous
Oh.
actor, she did porn.
Well,
I've always heard that, but I've never found
Yeah.
anything that like substantiated it.
I've never looked at it. I didn't care enough. I would just see it on social media and be like, oh.
No, see, and like it's interesting because they picked the right actress to make that a rumor for.
yeah,
Like, I'd
no,
buy that.
legit. She was 19.
She got the look.
Yeah, legitimately confirmed.
Gotcha. Hey, got to do you. To each
Gotta
their
do
own.
your
Get
thing.
that bag.
Yep.
Got to get that bag.
Yeah.
Hey, look where it led her.
She's one of the most famous women alive now.
Look
so.
where it led her. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
I mean, porn
Look at-
helps out. Like, that's how I got to fly to
Look,
you
Kim
guys at
Kardashian.
short notice.
look at Kim Kardashian.
Exactly.
I mean, look at Kim Kardashian. Like,
Porn does a lot for everybody.
No,
If you're asking me,
I'm sorry.
what a way. Yes.
it did
The
even more
Mask,
for Cameron
Jim
Diaz.
Carrey. This is what he'd want us
Yeah.
to be talking about.
And there's no doubt. There's a lot of damage to be done by porn as well. To be sure, but
If this podcast
Uh,
get famous, we would have to like really put a mature rating on like certain.
oh no, I put the explicit rating on every single one. Like you can't listen to this unless you are 17.
Mm.
Most of the time. The Patreon, you got to be, I don't know, you ought to be 30 before you listen to that shit.
Mhm.
Yeah, we honestly shouldn't even be saying what we say in the Patreon sometimes. So, like,
No,
Yeah.
nothing like that.
yeah, I did that.
It's only like one thing throughout all the podcasts that I remember that it's like, wow, and it's Joseph's fault. But I'm not going to say it, but I remember something. I was like,
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh well. But The Mask. So I say we get onto the rating and review section of the pod here.
Sure.
For The Mask. In terms of enjoyment, you know, I'm pretty middle of the road on this one. Probably maybe a little bit above halfway in a 3 to 3.5 range. Because I mean, literally the only thing that keeps me in this movie is the fact that Jim Carrey is the lead. If this movie isn't led by Jim Carrey, this is a movie I turn off 20 minutes in. You know what I'm saying? So it's it's got to take a decent hit in terms of enjoyment.
This is fair, and I was thinking 3. That was my gut. Before you said anything, because I was like a little middle of the road, but I guess a little bit more. It's not like a MASH. Like I think MASH.
It wasn't
like
hard to watch.
Yeah,
like there are moments in other movies we've had where it was like, I don't know if I want to watch this. Like because it was Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is just that good. It elevates the rating a bit.
Yeah. And even using the how much does this movie connect with you? Dead Poet's reasoning doesn't really help it a whole lot. So
yeah, Aurora, what are you thinking down there?
I would give it like a 3.5 because it's even though it's not like a movie I would go to, but like if I have kids, that's like one of the definite movies I'm going to show them.
Yeah, that's a classic comedy that's good for the youngins, for the most part.
Like a feel good. It's like a feel good family movie.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm with that. I think that's a good way to go. 3.5. I'm good with that.
We thinking for the genre. First of all, is this genre defining?
I don't think so.
I would say not.
No.
Okay, fair. I was also right there.
Like
I would say The Grinch before The Mask.
Oh, I mean, I'd say a hell of if we're just going straight up comedy. I'm not saying that The Mask is like if you're gonna watch comedy movies, you have to start with The Mask. No,
no,
that's not where I'm at. There are certain things that it's like. I will say, I don't think I've ever watched another movie like it. I don't think that there is another movie that technically fits in the exact same genre as The Mask.
Okay,
but
fair.
And I think it deserves a little credit for that, but it doesn't. It's not in the best way. There are other things that are like, oh, this is a whole. It's genre defining because there's nothing else like it. In a good way, this is like there's nothing else like it because no one's ever been like we should do that. Yeah. So
I'm thinking I don't know, maybe just like another 3.5.
It's somewhere in there, 3.5 to 4. There are funny moments.
That's why I said 3.5. Yeah.
I'm with 3.5. I'm with 3.5 for that too.
Yeah, that only leaves one, and that's how this was made critically as a film. We'll give it some props. Some of the visual effects for the time were like
for a low budget comedy.
We're okay. Not something that stands up to today, I would say.
No, certainly not. The special effects in this are rough compared to what we've seen in the past 20 years, even.
I would give it a 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah. Man, this is just a 3.5 movie, huh?
Yeah, it's like it's above average, but like it's not great,
But it's not bad. Like it's a 3.5.
Well, that averages it out to 3.5.
Fuck, I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. So in relative, it Taxi Driver was a 3.53. So, and that makes, a little, it's not an enjoyable movie, but it is more of a movie than The Mask. Yeah. So yeah, just a little bit better than The Mask. Makes sense. Blade Runner, 3.58. It actually beats Scarface, which was a 3.42.
Man, which is hilarious. Scarface.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like it a whole lot.
Here's my thing. You ask me 10 times out of 10, hey, you want to watch Scarface or you want to watch The Mask? Bro, you better turn the fucking mask on.
That's true. Yeah, that's fair. Oh, Spaceballs. Yeah, it beats out Spaceballs at a 2.17. And beats out MASH at a 2.67.
Yeah, it feels about right. Right.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad that clocked in above Scarface, but not above any of the other drama movies. Like, that's exactly what I wanted for this.
Man, what a system we got going here, It just seems to find a way. Life will find a way.
Head back to the 1992 or 1993 episode last Friday, Jurassic Park, where we were all there. It was fantastic.
Oh my God, it's a dinosaur.
Holy
Holy
fuck.
Holy fucking shit! It's a
But,
dinosaur.
Yeah, hell yeah. This was the one on the mask then.
Yeah. At
Yeah,
44.
3.5.
Yeah, 44 minutes.
3.5 out of 5. That makes sense to me. I feel like it's above average, but it's not great. That sits right with me. And thus we conclude this episode of the Penny Bloom podcast, our week-long 1994 fan fest. It's quite the enjoyment. I was Colton Robertson, joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
No, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. And thank you very much, Miss Aurora Carter.
Thank you so much. I have no life, so this is everything.
Oh, yeah. I'm right there with you. I kind of sat around today for 18 hours until we were like, podcast time. Like I just sat in my spot and waited.
That's a little creepy. A little creepy, if true.
It is. But if you would, head to patreon.com/CoroBloom, where you'll find out that I actually do have a little bit more of a life than simply this. But tons of content over there, over 24 hours of exclusive content now. You'll hear a bunch of stuff ranging from, a story of how I went and got my car today. My brand new used car. First time I purchased a vehicle. So very exciting, and ranging all the way to different names for ejaculate. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to send you over to Twitter. Follow @PennyBloomPod. Follow on Instagram @PennyBloomPodcast. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And somebody stop me.